On Fanalysis, we combine the analytics of fantasy football with the metrics of sports betting. The result finds the sharpest angles each week, and we are now joined by a sports handicapper you can find on Twitter as Old Man Who Bets, Geoff Sheasby. Geoff, this week, your top play turns to the Titans and the Vikings, and that matchup is at 2.5. Joe Public is heavy on one side. Are you fading the public here, or are you lining up right behind him?
Yeah, Joe Public, how you doing? How you been? 78% on the Titans, -2.5 now, and I'm going to be joining them. Interesting fact here. Coming into the season, or historically, teams that have started 0-2 against the spread cover week 3 at about 60%, just over. Thanks to Joe from OddsShark for that stat, but. The interesting part here, both the Vikings and the Titans are 0-2 against the spread, so something's got to give. Well, first, let's take a look at the Vikings here, right? Coming into the season, the Vikings had a lot of turnover on defense, missing some key guys, 6 to be exact. That was a combination of 281 starts, 9 Pro Bowls, 62.5 sacks, 19 interceptions, and 16 forced fumbles. Needless to say, that's a lot of slack that this defense has to pick up. The offseason murmur from Minnesota was, will this defense be ready soon enough? Zimmer, their coach, obviously a great defensive mind, but he even said himself there will be some growing pains, and I think that's exactly what we've seen from them. Week 1 and week 2, they've gotten throttled both times. They allowed 43 points against the Packers, 28 against the Colts last week. And, on top of that, when we get under the hood a little bit, they're 23rd in terms of defensive rush efficiency. Enter the Titans. Now we've got Derrick Henry, maybe you've heard of him.
Well, that's the thing, Geoff, is that Derrick Henry is supposedly the heart of this Titans offense. I mean, he's a big back. You definitely don't want to stand between him and the goal line, but is the efficiency that Ryan Tannehill is showing at quarterback making him an even more of an important cog in this wheel?
Yeah, their offense has been firing. They're 9th in offensive efficiency right now. I think the most interesting part is that 2nd in pass efficiency and 24th in rush efficiency. We all know Ryan Tannehill. He's a great game manager. He can make some throws. But we should see, I would say, that pass efficiency regress a little bit, and the rush efficiency increase a little bit. But nonetheless, the presence of Derrick Henry at all is what really helps open up those skies. A.J. Brown's still out, but Corey Davis has looked fine. Adam Humphries has been catching the ball, both looking like reliable receivers. And what I love most about this receiving core is Jonnu Smith, number 81. He had a nice 25-yard scamper on the first drive in week 1. The guy is super fit. Tannehill loves his tight ends, and they've really been balling. So, when we look for a get-right spot, the Titans, again, 0-2 against the spread. They got backdoored last week. The first week, Gostkowski left 10 points on the table, missing three field goals and 1 extra point. So, quite frankly, this Titans defense is pretty good. The Vikings defense hasn't found their stride at all, right? I mean, you got Kirk Cousins last week throwing for 133 yards and 3 interceptions. Dalvin Cook again held to 63 yards. I think it's too early in the season for this defense for the Vikings to hold in, and I think the Titans finally get that cover.
As you said, this is a Vikings defense that's got a lot of new faces, and they didn't have a preseason to get things going. So these first 4 games for them is essentially their preseason. How about Denver? They open up as 6-point home dogs against Tampa Bay, but this Buccaneers offense continues to grow, and maybe the question is, are they more built around Brady and the receivers or built around Leonard Fournette?
Yeah, I mean, hard to say on Fournette, right? He apparently wasn't going to be the guy. Arians, my man, said that Ronald Jones III was going to be the guy. But then he comes out and runs for 100 yards last week and 2 scores. So it seems like there could be a change in the guard, though. Have I been on the Bucs every week so far? Of course, and for good reasons. Quick hitters. Tom Brady has a career cover rate of 59%. He's playing with the best offense he's had since 2007. You said it. This offense has improved week over week. Godwin is back. Fournette ran for 100 yards. And the passing game does need to improve. They're currently ranked 21st in terms of offensive efficiency there. But thank God that the Denver defense here ranks 20th in defensive pass efficiency.
Well, the thing is, you flip things over and you look at what's happening on the other side of things, because this Tampa defense is opportunistic. I mean, they had, 4 turnovers? Does it look even more attractive that they're facing a Denver offense that just doesn't seem to be able to get out of their own way?
Yeah, 100%. With injuries mounting for Denver, obviously you've got Jeff Driscoll now, who's going to be starting for them, 1-7 in his career as a starter. And honestly, this Tampa Bay defense is super underrated. You know, last year they were 5th in defensive efficiency. That got kind of the short end of the stick due to Jameis Winston's 30 interceptions. This year they're 4th in defensive efficiency. And somehow the narrative is that they're not good. They're one of the best run Ds in the league. They have a young secondary that's playing pretty well so far. And when you have a guy that's completing only 52% of his passes, and Jeff Driscoll for his last week, that's not something I'm particularly scared of. The Bucs forced 4 turnovers against Teddy Bridgewater. The Bucs defense is 9th in the league in terms of opponent yard per play, while Denver's offense is 27th in the league for yards per play. You know, there's not much I love in Denver. You know, I think they are a sinking ship. They're bringing in the boat, Blake Bortles, to try to save them. He won't start this week, but things have to be pretty dire when you're bringing Blake in, as much as I love the guy as a human and as an individual. So, you know, once again, I'm siding with Joe Public on this one and playing the Bucs under touchdown -6.
All right, one of your top plays this week, we've been talking a lot about the Jets. The Jets on the Colts game is at 10.5. Are you choosing this side based on the fact that the Jets have already asked you to play wide receiver this week?
Yeah, the Jets gave me the call. I told them I couldn't make it. Unfortunately, cardio is just not where it needs to be. But, you know, again, going back to that ATS trend, teams that opened, you know, 0-2 have a 60% cover rate. Jets obviously are 0-2 against the spread. But this is one I'm still going to continue to fade. I'm looking at the Colts at -10.5 and I think for good reason. There's just no end in sight for this Jets offense to stop sputtering. They're 38th and 32 in terms of yards per play. They're 29th in terms of offensive efficiency. And, you know, it's not necessarily lack of talent, but the injuries are mounting. You've got Crowder out with a hamstring, Perriman with a sprained ankle, Bell's out for 2 to 4 weeks, Hogan left with a rib injury. Their offensive line is banged up. And it doesn't help that, obviously, Indianapolis has an elite defense. This is an Indianapolis defense that just throttled Minnesota 28-11. Causing 3 interceptions from Kirk Cousins, holding one of the best running backs in the league, Dalvin Cook, to 63 yards. You know, insert Frank Gore. I don't think Frank Gore is going to be able to perform better than Dalvin Cook did, especially when there's no receivers to bail him out and open up this run game. You know, the Jets were this season and last week were 5 for 14 on 3rd down. That's not going to get it done. This Indy defense, again, ranked 5th in defensive efficiency, 11th against the run, 1st in terms of opponents' yards per play. There's just so many stats that favor the Colts. And I think -10.5 is definitely a good spot to be in.
Yeah, unless the Colts, or I should say, unless the Jets figure out that if they run behind Mekhi Becton from now until the end of the season, maybe they're going to get this offense going in the right direction. Jeff, thank you so much for your insights this week and your top plays. And that is a look at Jeff's top plays of the week. Find out if he has a number that would make him switch to the Jets in our other segment. For Geoff Sheasby, I'm Steve Overmyer. This is Fanalysis.